they have these problems. They have the problem of getting the first job, get their first gig, get to work, paid work. Because working for free, there are a lot of people that want you to work for free.
This is the Industry of UX, Season 2, Inside the UX Hiring Journey. We talk to the experts to bring you the strategies, the thinking process, and the reasoning behind the hiring decisions in the UX job market. Let's dive into the episode. Hello, you wonderful UXers. Welcome back to Season 2, Episode 2 of the Industry of UX. I'm your host, Filippo Lovotti. So I'm excited to bring you the perspective from a whole new category of UX designer, the traveling, or better, wandering UX designer. So today we chat with Karla Fernandes, veteran UI UX designer and mentor. You see, I'm really interested to bring you Karla's perspective because she has 15 years of experience in independent consulting. She has lived in 11 countries. She speaks 4 languages and has worked with more than 150 companies of various sizes. One of the reasons why I think you love this episode is that since 2019, Karla has mentored dozens of UX professionals, helping them with their portfolio and overall getting them job ready. In this episode, Karla and I talk about how she was able to travel and work as a UX designer, of course, pre-COVID, and her advice on how to stand out when applying for jobs and contracts, and also some advice on how to land your clients and keep them happy so you can get a constant stream of work. Let me know what you think about the episode by tweeting @IndustryUX. Also, if you are an Apple user, please go on Apple Podcasts and give us a 5-star rating and review. It helps us produce a better show and overall bring the podcast to a larger audience. Okay, on to the conversation with Karla. How do you find jobs while you travel? What are the mechanisms that you found out throughout these years that you put in place to be able to find freelance contract work as you are traveling?
So I would say that you have a portfolio online. That would be the first step. A lot of the customers I had through my life, and just some of them I even am working for more than a decade already, that have work, and then we work on this project, we have some time off, and then they come back with another project. So I think when you create certain, how you say that? You say customer wallet, something like that. So when you have this customer wallet, it's easier. It's easier because they talk about you. If someone gets to them and say I'm having this problem, I need a designer. I have one for you. And what I believe helped me construct that wallet was that, one, my customers know for sure that what I tell them, I will do. So my word it's really, I want to keep my word 100% of times, all the time. So if I tell my customer that I will deliver something on Friday, if I'm not dead or hospitalized, they get it by Friday or earlier. And it has been like this since I started to do freelance. And I think that's what get people to trust me and to refer me, to tell other people about me. So, and then I got my portfolio online. So I have done a bunch of work, and I try to do search engine optimization on my website. I try to put there works that I like, that I would like to do more often. So people find me on LinkedIn, people find me on my portfolio, people find me through others. So I think LinkedIn, it's a great place to connect with others. I'm very picky. If you want to be my friend on Facebook, if I don't know you, forget about it. I'm not adding you there, nor to my Instagram, nor anywhere else, Twitter, it's fine. or LinkedIn is fine. My portfolio is fine. So I am very, I love my job, and I love to keep my private life private, and my work very public. So my customers don't talk with me over WhatsApp. They don't send me messages on my phone, and they talk with me over email, or they have meetings with me very rarely. And that's not because of my options, just because I started so like this with emails that we don't really meet so many times, but we talk about life during the email. So we greet each other, tell a little bit about what's going on. But where I want to come in there is that so it's much easier when you have a few customers to have other customers. Like it is easier for you to, when you have money, to create more money. It's just insane, but that's so true. It's like when you have little money and you invest, you have more money. And when you have a little bit of customers, you invest on them, you give them a good job, you do the greatest you can do that day, because I also believe that my latest job is the best one. Never the one 10 years ago, 3 years ago, 1 year ago, not even a month ago. I think that the one that I did today is much better than any other work. So what I'm doing today for my customers is much better than I did yesterday for my other customer. And so if you keep doing that, this network of customers that you have, like these people that come after you every time that they need something related to design, you come back to you every time, and then you also talk about you to others, because then you'll be happy.
I find that really interesting. And this last part, especially, I think is very meaningful. So invest in your customers, right? That's something that we definitely do at Zappos. So I can definitely empathize with you, although it's a different kind of customer and it's a different kind of work, but and it's a definitely different product. But so essentially what I get from you is that you started getting some freelance work and you treated your customers really, really well. And some of those you still have to this day. And then it sounds like you work a lot on referrals. So your customers, the one that you really treated well, the ones that you have invested in, they are referring you to other folks, and it creates this cycle of continuous work for you that allows you then to, because you have this almost constantly open faucet, if you will, of work, you can then decide, I'm going to do this work in this country, I'm going to do this other work in this country, because you have been successfully able to decouple the work from the location. And so now you can, as long as deadlines are met, it doesn't matter to your customers where you do your work, and you can travel and see the world, or at least you have seen a lot of Europe, definitely, and still be a great UX designer. I think that is amazing. And I feel that in a way you've been empowered to do this because you were proactive in investing in the customers, investing in your clients, which I think it's a great way to put it. I love that, how you have expressed that. I think it's a great concept.
Yeah, and I think it's really that too. That the customers that you get, that they trust you, that they see that you have done your best, that they come back to you and they give you another work, or they find you around. Like I had that customer that found me on LinkedIn once, and he wanted me to do, I don't know, a flyer for him, I believe, at the time. And then I said, yes, great. Wow, you found me on LinkedIn. That's interesting. That was the first time someone would just come up and I found you on LinkedIn. And I'm like, oh, very surprising. Cool. So yeah, sure, I can do it. Can you send me your logo, what you want there in the flyer and so on, to me to check it out? Then he sent me an email. I checked it out, and then I was like, okay, sure, I can do it. But for a start, I believe you should just change your logo, because this one is terrible. And he was astonished. He was like, wow, so how it comes? Because, I spent so many hours with a designer doing this and so on. And then I just told him, oh, I'm sorry. I think I got you. I see your pain. I see that you got a designer to do this. And sometimes it's very frustrating to work with a designer. I get you. But, I work by the hour. So pay me you know what? Let me spend a couple of hours just doing what I believe your brand could be improved. And if you are happy with the results, you pay me these 2 hours. I will just do little adjustments. And then he was like, wow, if I will pay justify like it, of course, yeah, sure, you can do it. So I did it, and then I sent him back, and then he called me. This one loved to be on the phone, and then he called me, and he was like, Karla, I'm amazed. How did you do this in 2 hours? Because I spent months doing this, and how could you do this in 2 hours? And I'm like, oh, yeah, so I'm really glad you liked it. So now we can do a flyer with it. So you just need a little bit more time to do the flyer too. And then I actually got to do the flyer, the website, review the whole communication, and also give my point of view on everything that was marketed for that brand. Because, it felt that, the reason I believe that people need designers, it's really because they want to be better seen and better approach. So if you have a product, you want the customers to look at that product and love it by design, by colors, by definition, by whatever. But they want you want your customers to love it. And if you go to work with a design, like if this guy just arrived me, yeah, do a flyer. I could do with his brand, of course, but I would never put that in my portfolio ever. So why would I do it? So I would never do it either. So I said, well, if I don't do this to him, I'm not being honest with myself, because I'm not putting this work on my portfolio. I don't think it's good. I don't want nobody even to see that I have anything to do with this flyer if I do this like this. So, I think it's there when you see also that you have a relationship with the customer, because I could either said to him the truth, I don't like it, and I could improve it, or I could say no. And saying no there was just respecting myself, because I would not put that in my portfolio. It would be a waste of my time for me. Yes, I'm being paid, but sometimes it's better to be studying, learning more about something, or not working at all, and just, I don't know, enjoying the sun outside if there is any, than just be working on something that you don't like, or that you dislike, or that you think that could be better.
And so I think that this story speaks a lot about this concept of ownership, and also to have some level of pride in what you do. I know, for instance, the first time that I came around this concept was when I was a musician. And there are recording studios all over the world where you can go there and record your record, record your album, record your demo, whatever it is. Some studios, because they're popular studios, so they have a name, they're popular, big names go there to record, so they have a reputation. And if you are a small band, they don't necessarily want you there, because it's not that they don't want to produce music, is that they don't want to produce bands that cannot go against bigger names that they have produced in the past. Pretty much like you saying they don't want to have something they're not proud of in their portfolio, right? So they only accept bands that have either a certain name, or they have a certain quality of music, which is more important. And I think it is a concept that can be seen as, oh, you're being a little, maybe a little too strict or a little too restrictive. But in reality, your portfolio in the vast majority of the time is what people see about you, right? People don't call you up and say, hey, look, before I look at your portfolio, before I look at anything, let me talk to you. I want to get to know you heart to heart. How do you feel today, Filippo? No, they don't do that. I don't know if that has ever happened to you, but I doubt that's something that happens frequently. Normally, they look at your portfolio, and if there is a quality of work, whether it's UX, UI, whatever type of portfolio, whatever type of designer you are, but if there is a quality, or researcher even, there is a quality to it, then it speaks about your thinking process. It speaks about your value as a UXer. It speaks about you as a person. And so that is what generates the interest. And actually, I wanted to latch on to this because in our pre-recording call, we talked about, and you specifically mentioned that it's important to stand out when applying for jobs. And since we're talking about portfolio, which is definitely one of the elements of the equation, I wanted to talk to you about, I wanted to ask you, how do you stand out when you apply for your jobs, when you apply for your contract jobs, when you apply for your freelance job? How have you been able to, I know that we already talked maybe a little bit about the fact that your commitment is really 100%, but what are ways that you have been able to stand out in the job market?
Okay, so yes, I have applied for contracts mostly, like, or even some positions, which many times I received a no, even being a senior. Like, as you said with about portfolio, that I think it's very interesting that, your portfolio says a lot about you, and sometimes your style, like as a UI, because what people see is really UI, right? Like in the end, you are a UX designer. If you show your portfolio a little bit with a high fidelity, that's UI. And people get in touch with the UI and they look at it and they see if that style fits with their style. If not, and it happens with me once, as you were saying, that, someone didn't check my portfolio at all and closed the deal with me. And later on, when I was about to deliver the project, she told me, oh, this was nothing I was thinking about. And then I was like, what were you thinking about? And then she sent me some mood boards, and I was like, I would never do this. So, it was so unrealistic and so unmatched with my own portfolio that I was very astonished that for the first time and only time, someone didn't check my portfolio before hiring me. So that was very strange. And I believe it really never happens to anybody else. But coming back to the question, is like when you are applying for a job, you really need to see what you have done that can help this job that you are applying for to be better, or why would you be better for the role than anyone else. So bring really what your expertise or your experience on that matter. Like, one of the latest job interviews I had for a contract was very interesting because I was giving a design challenge, and there are a lot of design challenges right now. Like, I think this is even right now, everyone practices it, right? Like every company is giving you a challenge, and sometimes it is a challenge that they are trying to themselves come through. And I did it a couple of times, but the last time was exactly like this. I actually wasn't able to do the challenge they asked me for because I needed to use their app. And trying to use their app was so frustrating because I couldn't use it, and I got into several problems, and I wasn't able to achieve what I was supposed to achieve with the app. And then what I did, instead of doing the challenge, I just did a diagram of the problems I had and how I would solve them. And in my interview, like explaining the challenge, I said like, okay, guys, so I didn't do the challenge. I was not able because of this, and this. And these were ways that I would actually solve this problem with. And they were just like astonished. They were like, okay, yes, we are aware of these some problems. And so I like this and that other solution. So it was a very interesting way, and I got the project. So it was initially a 3-month project, and then it's extended to 6 months, and then extended to 9 months, and now it's extended to 12 months. So it's like, no, you start with a project. Like, again, we come back to the concept where you are investing, right? So I was so there, I was frustrated, and then I thought about all the users that would be like me, so frustrated, and how could I help them? And was a totally different approach. They didn't ask me for it. And anyways, that was what I could deliver. And then they did like my way to think about the problems, also to give the solutions. And that was a good investment because I spent time trying to solve something that they didn't thought of solving at the challenge.
You are bringing something up that is super interesting. After a few episodes of the podcast, I found myself having to spend a lot of time editing, tracks and doing all the mixing and mastering. And although I was a professional musician at some point, I'm not a professional audio engineer. So it was something hard for me to do. So I thought, what I'm going to do? I'm going to go on Upwork, which is a freelance website, and I'm going to post a job for an audio engineer specifically for podcasts. And what I'm going to do is just hire someone that can do the work. So I posted the job, and around, I don't know, 30 to 40 people replied relatively short time. And then Yusef, which is our audio engineer, replied, and he did something that nobody else did. Because everyone else, when they replied to the job, they sent me their bio, their portfolio, and they told me, this is what I can do. This is what normally I do for this much money. He did none of that. So he still had a link to his portfolio or where I could hear his work. But the first thing that he did was he listened to an episode of the podcast and he told me, these are the audio quality problems for this episode. There is this plosive problem here. There is this level of decibel, blah, blah, blah. I have no idea what he was talking about at the time, but it basically, and still now probably, but it was telling me all the audio quality problems that I had for that specific episode that it could fix doing this, this, and this. And I was like, okay, this is the guy. He personalized the pitch to what I'm doing, where everyone else just sent me generic, hey, this is my work, this is what I've done, this is who I am, you can hear my demo here. He actually he already was trying to solve a problem for me, and I hired him, and he's been doing great work. But I thought that he was the only one that actually sat down, listened to the episode, and that's how he was able to stand out. And so this resonates exactly to what you just mentioned. Instead of just going through the challenge, you just pointed out, hey, look, this is a terrible experience. Sorry to break it to you, but no, hey, there's no big deal, because I actually can fix this for you, and this is how I'm going to do it. I love it. I think it's a great approach. You personalized it to their problem and to what they actually needed versus what they actually wanted. I really like that.
Yeah, and many times it's just that you have to think and go that extra mile. And a lot of people maybe miss how good you are, right? Like there are some people that you pass on you, that you just think that you are not good enough for them, or that you are too expensive, or whatever reason. But there is also the opposite. Like, I also am very pro of don't work with people that you don't want to work. Don't do the work that you don't want to do. Go for the excitement and go for the projects that you think that, you beat so close to your heart that you want to just wake up to do it. Because that is really the main thing for me. Because imagine you are a designer and then you are trying to find creative, right? Like you are trying to be creative every day. And sometimes, of course, a white paper doesn't help anybody. So if you have to be creative about something, it should be something that excites you, because if not, you are not going anywhere.
This is the trend that I'm hearing from you. It sounds like you have some level of currency, like abstract currency, like creative coins or creative currency, right? And you're very conscious in investing it and spending it. So everything you're mentioning is, you're like, okay, you invest in the client, and this is how you're able to get all like this amazing work and constant work coming in for you that allows you to travel. And then what you just said, you don't invest or you don't spend your currency in companies that you don't care for. You actually invest it and spend it like you almost will invest money, right? So you invest your creative coins, or whatever you want to call it, on projects and companies that get you excited. I think that's such a great way to look at things. You have to be very, very careful, very nimble with your currency, with your creative coins. I like that.
Yeah, well, I think everyone should think about this, about their time, right? Like when I think about time limitation, and I learned something not so long ago that I love it. I just love it. I think that's the what I have learned in 2021 that I think it's the greatest is this line, is that it's not that you didn't have time, it's that it wasn't your priority. And that's so true, because every time now that I say like, oh, I didn't have time to do this, exactly at the same moment, I just think, no, that was really not my priority. Then it's not, yes, it was not yesterday. It's not today. It's not right now. And right now I have a bunch of things that I want to do more than that. And if you get to that point where you see that you don't want to do that, not even eat that frog, right? Like you don't want to eat that frog at all. You should really just leave it. Just leave it to someone else that wants to do it. And of course, like it may sound that I am too picky or that I am like even abusive maybe, or arrogant maybe. I don't want to be any of those. I just want to be true to myself. But I understand too. And, I know that I came from a place where I was a junior designer once. And this was really long ago. And I get that a lot, like as a UI UX mentor, I get that a lot of my students, like my mentees, they have these problems. They have the problem of getting the first job, get their first gig, get to work, paid work. Because working for free, there are a lot of people that want you to work for free. I know that they have this, and sometimes I tell them what exactly I'm telling you, and it may even hurt because, they are not there where they can just choose. And yes, sometimes you do have to do the job because that will be good, but then it has to be good in some ways, in some other way. What way, for example? It can be good for your portfolio. Maybe it's a big company. Maybe it is already a brand that's out there that you give you a bunch of connections. So that's a good work to invest on. It's terrible. You don't really love it, but you do a good job there too. So if you do a good job for them, do it. And do it for the money and do it very well. Not just do it more or less and then put it on your portfolio, because then you are just, burning your own image. And that's what I believe.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's pretty good advice, if you ask me. So, Karla, I know that we are almost running out of time. We're getting at the end of the episode. So I wanted to say thank you so much for coming on the show and bringing your amazing perspective. I think that we have a lot to learn from folks such as yourself, traveling and doing UX work while you travel. I know that with COVID right now, it's not really possible to do, or at least not as much as before. But I'm sure that as soon as the COVID limitations are lifted, I would love to start doing some of that. So thank you so much for bringing your perspective. A couple of things that I wanted to ask you before we leave. Are you open to mentoring, and how can people find you?
Yeah, I'm open to mentor, and I'm even creating a new program that will be like a private mentoring, because right now I mentor at Springboard. I did mentor at IDF, but now I'm creating my own program. It will be a special program even for Brazilians too, because in Brazil it's still new. And I think I could bring a different point of view for Brazilians also that want to travel and come to Europe, but also in English, like that's no problem. So what I'm trying to do, you be just create a program that you be handling design from ideation to market. So I even want to teach how to right now use no-code tools to create your own products and to really deliver the whole thing. So not just be designing, but doing the design, applying the design, and publishing it. So, and having a real app, for example. I think that's the biggest new thing, and that designers now can create their own products and publish them and profit from it. And I think this is just amazing that we are able to do that now without code. So to reach me, yes, sure. There is my portfolio, vitaminak.design, and also LinkedIn. Yeah, you can find me with Vitamina K. You can find me with Karla Fernandes.
I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you're interested in any of the resources we mentioned, all the links are on the episode page of our website, theindustryofux.com. Thanks to Karla for coming on the show. Thanks to Youssef Hamimi for the audio engineering work. And a big thank you to Demi He for the post-production work. If you have any feedback about the episode or the show, you can tweet at IndustryUX. If you really want to help or say thank you from the bottom of your heart, please leave a 5-star rating and a review on Apple Podcasts. It helps us climb the charts and bring our show to a bigger audience. Last but not least, thank you for listening, and I'm looking forward to talking to you next week.